J Flex pull up.
What is you doing now? 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 I want the money. No, it's not funny. I stole your love and take a love. No, don't run from me. It was our world. Yeah, you were my girl. Yeah.
How y'all doing? We back again with another episode of Progressive Table Talk. I'm here with our two ambassadors, Kennedy and Jordan, and we're gonna get right into the video.
The first question is, do you feel the justice system can be completely reformed or should it be completely dismantled, and why?
Personally, I think that it should be completely dismantled because, I mean, if you do your research and you look at the history of it, it was designed to not protect and serve, but to hunt down people. And I feel like the only effective way to make up for all the past mistakes that have been made for 100 years, 200 years, is that you have to tear it down and restart.
I feel you. I just feel that it's like, in order to move forward, we can't have the same people at higher authority. Like as far as you got the two parties. Most of the people in higher authorities or senates and presidential, those seats like that, they like to make their decisions based off their personal life. And then when you're in a position like that, you can't really make your decisions that's going to be based off a whole country, numerous people. You have to kind of disconnect your personal life from your work life. So I feel as if to start, you have to kind of erase all of the higher personnel and replace the whole type of court.
Yeah, I guess like they said, when the whole system starts with bad intent, you can't really try to reform it within when it's been going for so long. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, especially because like our president, he's old and he has old ideals, so you can't really try to get him to change. He's not going to change who he is at this point. So I feel like you have to just completely start over with new administration and all that type of stuff.
That actually, it reminded me of I think we kind of as a society lost what the real intent and goal is of the justice system or the prison system. I think that once you're already into the system for something whether it be violent or non-violent, there's never really a step to, all right, you did this, how can we help you overcome the addiction that you had or the crime that you committed and help you get reestablished back into society as a person who made a mistake when he was 18 years old or 21 or something like that. I feel like it shouldn't be a thing where it follows you for the rest of your life because nobody's perfect.
I do agree. And then along with the lines is when you think about different countries and how they're built, I know it's China, their educational system is way better than ours. And then you think as what do our countries spend their most money on as far as to help their citizens. So I feel like they also do take a part in rebuilding the system and do what's better for us in the long run.
Jordan, I have a follow-up question. So you said about how you feel like the justice system isn't made to try to help people advance after they've been in the prison system or in the justice system. So how can we as Black people make those people feel a part of the community or make it feel like that we're okay and try to help them advance after they've already been through that because the justice system isn't there for them?
I don't think it should necessarily fall on Black people to fix the issues that we did not cause on ourselves. At the end of the day, regardless, all our issues in the Black community stems from being taken from our home. And so in a foreign land, we should not be responsible for a justice system that's only put in place to incriminate our people. But to get back to your question as far as trying to help people, because I know as my culture of being a Black American, I do know that we're very accepting and very open to people of all different nationalities and colors. I think we should be there, have a talk, try to give them some help, try to get them back on their feet, employ these people, just continue to put programs in to help to show people that there's another way to do things.
I agree on that aspect, but on half of the things you said, when you said that you would restate the first half of your question?
Oh, that it doesn't fall on us because our
Yeah. So like with that, I feel a different way because of course we are in a foreign land, and when you do, we are. This isn't our homeland. If we want change within our people, and if we see that what we're doing on a regular day basis is not helping, it's not striving for anything better, then it's upon us to take it upon ourselves and be like, okay, we need to come together and we need to do something to better ourselves, because at this point, we see nobody else is going to do anything for us, so we have to take it upon ourselves to change the whole aspect.
I definitely agree with your point of like it falls back on us to actually change. If there's no change being made through others, then we need to go make the change. But in our case, I feel like it's a different kind of thing, because if it was that easy to just go and change things, then I feel like as a people we would, but I don't think that our people are in positions of power to actually cause real change unless it gets like violent. That's how I feel in the situation though.
Well, I think I kind of agree with what you said, how it's like personal, like some of the black stereotypes or stuff that we do within our household that like, grandma teach you whatever. I feel like some of that stuff, how we just keep passing it down generation, so it's like a generational curse. I do think that sort of stuff we can change and just within ourselves. So I feel like there are definitely some aspects like that. But when it comes to being in prison and like mental health and all that, I do think that that's an America problem, because like in Sweden, when they go to prison for something, it's like they're not there like, oh, you're a bad person. It's like let's get you like rehabilitation and like support you. And there's also been like research as to the school to detention to prison pipeline. Like putting little black kids in detention at school leads them into going to prison. So I feel like stuff is putting them in meditation instead of like detention, because they're acting out, which leads to, they have something going on at home. So I feel like the bigger issues, that's in America type of thing. But I do think that as a people we could improve personally.
So the next question is, do you feel the justice system was built to incorporate and protect black people, or just to incriminate them?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I still need something.
I want to start and say, when everything was made, we weren't even a thought. We were slaves, so it wasn't really pertaining to us. We weren't even, it was made for them, for the people, for the white people. That's who it was made. That's who it was made by. So when you come to a time that we're in a futuristic time now, we're free. This is not the same time to where you go back in the day and you go to a slave house and you have people, in the yards working for 2 cents a day. That's not the same thing. So when you relate those two times, it's like, well, this isn't even made for me. How am I supposed to adapt to it? And I feel like now, since it's not made for us, they're kind of just forcing it upon us. And it's just like, okay, well, you have to deal with it. It's not really being a change whole. It's just, oh, you have to adapt to it. So that's what I feel like.
I think that the system was never really to incorporate black people. As you can see, like the population of a prison is majority black, maybe like 60-something% black. And it's just that like, is it really here to protect and serve black people if when you call in a certain neighborhood they don't show up, or some neighborhoods they're happy to say, hey, your son's dead because of a gang shooting, or hey, we just picked up your son, and they're happy to tell you this news? Is it really there to protect black people when majority of the people who are incarcerated are black? That's so like to me, I really don't think it's there to incorporate for black people, but I think we could lead to a society where the stuff that was written in law and constitution and stuff like that can incorporate people from all walks of life.
I would say definitely it was more to kind of incriminate us, but I feel like something that could really help is fixing like educational systems, because first of all, trying to get our own people in positions of power that comes from voting, and studies show that like the more education you have, the more likely you are to vote, and especially because we know that like in poor like communities of lower like socioeconomic situations where there's more black people, they have public schools with bad education. They don't even have textbooks, whereas higher socioeconomic, they're in private schools with better education. So I feel like it's really disproportionate when it comes to how people are receiving the same information. So I feel like education is kind of like a good place to start, because once you're informed, then you know what is important to you and how you can fix it. So I think that, yeah, it was definitely started to incriminate Black people.
Yeah, and another thing is, because I like to think on it a lot, like we all start in a different place at a different time. Like we not all given the same resources, we not all given the same materials, and just be told, okay, have a strike at life. Everyone may start with two parents that are rich. Somebody may start where their parents are struggling and trying to find food for them. So it's just like, how can you just say that everyone is at a fair advantage, or the country accommodates everyone in a sense where you have your different classes, and then at that point, those classes aren't even really cared for. More of the higher classes are the ones who've been provided with the better resources thought about when it comes to making decisions. So that's my standpoint on it.
So the next question is, do you feel the distrust between police and Black people can be fixed?
Even if you're a Black officer and it's a Black officer dealing with a Black male or female, like, it's more of, as a Black person, you're taught to, all right, duck the police system, like, stay away from them. Like, even when you're riding in a car with like Black friends and stuff, there's always somebody in the car like, hey, there's an officer, hey, there's a police car. Like, it's already in our brains as a culture to watch out for the police and never to trust them. Like, that's where no snitching came from. So
I would say I would disagree, only because, well, not in the sense of your terminology, just your the way you're going with it, just because before I was 18, before I was really like, just put out and experience life, I was blind to the fact that it was police brutality. I mean, I was in a household, I had, resources and stuff. I was in a single parent household, but it wasn't as if I was just constantly seeing, our community getting beat up or our community getting faulted by the system. It wasn't until after I got out the house, come to college, especially in this type of town, me being from Houston, that I really got to see, like, this is what the world, has to offer. So I feel as, to answer the question, it can be fixed, but you have to, like, it can't be fixed like with our generation, but as far as future references, it can be fixed because you can start teaching your kids, you can start teaching, people around you that police aren't here to harm you. Police are here to help you in any type of way. But if you're saying that, and teaching these to these people, then what you teach has to be what you preach. All of the law enforcement have to practice, we're here to better you, not just, oh, I'm pulling you over, I'm checking to see if you got drugs on you, oh, why you speeding, you look intoxicated, you're worried, you're pulling them over. Is there anything wrong? How can I help you like you're supposed to? So I feel like it can be fixed, but the type of people that we have in office and the type of people that we let run our country is not going to be fixed anytime soon.
I just say that it couldn't be fixed because I know that, like, although I grew up in the suburbs, I know that a large, like, community of Black people stay in, like, these super cities. So like New Orleans, Chicago, like all these different places. And I know, like, firsthand that, these people get harassed on a daily, whether they're just sitting outside or they're playing basketball or something like that. Like, I've even seen a video on Twitter of this little boy just shooting, like, hoops in his yard, and then when a police car comes, he hides behind a truck. And, like, he's probably never even had a run-in with the police. But how do you fix something like that when, even though it's not directly happening to certain people, they already feel, like, worried or uneasy when police are around?
That's why I was just saying it has to be taught, because like you said, he was taught like that. So in the situation that the Black community is right now, we have to teach our kids like that, because if we don't, they go out on the street and they might not come back home. But in situations in the future, if they are taught that police are here for us and the police are actually here for us, then it's just like the problems, I won't say the problems are completely solved, but I mean, you're at least working towards a better era.
Yeah, it's definitely a two-way street. It doesn't just fall on the Black community to, change things. It definitely has to fall on the police part. And I think that majority of the responsibility should go to the police, because if your job is to protect and serve the people in your county or the state or whatever the case may be, then it should be your job and your obligation to go out and say, hey, I know that there are things going on in other parts of the country, but I'm here to help you and I'm here to serve you. And as long as I'm in this badge, I'm going to be here for you. And I feel like that's something that police need to do a better job of, showing that, hey, they're actually here for people, rather than just pulling them over and say, hey, you was going too fast, I'm gonna write you a ticket, or hey, I don't like the smell in your car, so I'm just gonna take you to jail or something like that, or give you a sobriety test. Like.
So to go to the next one, what is the difference between black on black crime versus police brutality?
I'll say, well, police brutality is based off of the systematic racism and all that. When they are like, they shoot a black person because they look suspicious, they're doing that with all those factors influencing it, like, you know, all the things that they've been taught when they're younger, like, you know, black people are suspicious. He's a black man, he might be robbing somebody, or he's in a hoodie, he's a thug or whatever. So all those things factoring in, plus, you know, you have those police officers who were like bullied in high school, so then when they get on the force, then they become the bully. So they have all this confidence when they have their badge on. So all those things that factor in creates like a bias to where they're doing that because of how that person looks. But when a black person shoots a black person, or is in, you know, in their neighborhood, it's not based because they're black or they see them like, oh, you look like you're dangerous. It's different. Or like gang shootings or whatever you want to say. It's not based off of you look like you're dangerous. It's like, it might be more personal or something. It's not systematic. So yeah, I don't like when people say that. Like, I just had this teacher and she was a big Trump supporter, and we were talking about police brutality. She's like, it doesn't matter, like, they're gonna shoot each other anyways, they're gang members. And I was like, you just assume every black person is a gang member. So I think it's definitely, it's different, it's not the same.
To just go off to what you were saying, when a black person shoots a black person, it's not really, oh, I don't like this color, I don't like the color of his skin, or I think he harmed me because he got on a hoodie. That's what the stereotypes that police brutality cause of death. But when it's a black on black crime, that's just like if it was a white on white crime. They doing it because it's an actual conflict within the two people, not how they feel about the person at a stereotypic sense. So I do agree with you on that.
Yeah, and like both of you were saying, black on black crime, to me, it's all about proximity. Most black people stay next to other black people, so they're going to rob, kill, and anything in between to other black people. That's what they stay around. So, like you said, when there's conflict, it's a disagreement between two people based on other things than skin color. Police brutality is like, you have training, you have different type of tools, like you're educated, and for you to go out and shoot people and harm them and beat them up like you do is not, it doesn't really seem like you're here to protect and serve when you have a taser, a baton, and handcuffs, but you choose to pull out your gun.
How has Black Lives Matter brought attention to the topic, and do you agree with the looting and etc.?
As far as the looting and stuff like that, me personally, I agree with it because it's like, you're pushing a group of people around for so long. Eventually, people are gonna get tired of walking in the streets and singing "Kumbaya" and all this like peaceful stuff just to get beat up and hosed and stuff like that. Like, you gotta remember, there was 400 years of slavery. The most worst atrocities were going on. We couldn't do nothing about that. Even when we tried to run away, you would still get killed and beat and, you know, everything in between. 60 years of Jim Crow, like, that stuff too, and this is post-slavery. Like, this, all of this stuff is after the fact. And then after Jim Crow, you have the 90s and stuff. Like, my great-grandma has seen this stuff, and you expect me to just be okay and be peaceful and stuff like that? Like, as far as I know, I think a lot of black people are fed up, and I think that people want to see something change because we've already done the peaceful stuff and nothing has still changed, and we're in 2020. Now, the looting and stuff, all the problems that we have as a black community stem from poverty. Like, if we actually had the resources and actual stuff, do you think people will be out looting, like, especially a Target? And then it's also like, bro, like, how they frame that, the Target wasn't letting people in after they were getting shot with like, you know, the rubber rounds and getting pepper sprayed and stuff. They were trying to get milk to like get the stuff out of their eyes, and you're denying people to go in your store to purchase stuff because you don't agree with their views. Like, I mean, does that really make sense to you? So that's why I agree with the looting and stuff.
I would say, I mean, I agree with what you said because some people, especially those who don't have as much education to know what's really available to them as far as resources, what they can achieve, that's really all they can think to do. And especially when you're in the neighborhoods where all you see is violence. Like, if you just think about it, people who are going out every day, they see people getting shot, people getting robbed. All they really know as far as ways to get things done is, oh, if I want money, I go rob somebody, or if I want to settle this beef, I go shoot somebody. So it's like, especially people who are in those situations or those neighborhoods where that's all they know, it's like, how can you expect them to, oh, police brutality is bad, I guess I'm gonna go read a book. It's like people aren't given those opportunities, especially when they're young, to know that, you know, your only weapons aren't just your hands. So I feel like I agree with people's right to do it, because it's just like, it's not just about, I'm gonna go get me a Gucci purse. It's like, it's always more to it. And especially when people just feel so just powerless, like, what can we do other than just go out and do what they do to us?
And to go off that, like, people like want to forget that 400 years of slavery, we pretty much built the entire country. So if we want to go take something or we want to tear it down, why can't we do that? We haven't been paid for the work that we did. We haven't been paid for 400 years. We haven't even gotten an apology. So, like, you're getting mad at people for looting and stuff, but yeah, these are the same people who built your neighborhoods. They built the industry. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah.
And then also, whenever looting is discussed, it's always a bad thing. It's always, oh, look at those monkeys, or look at those, you know, it's always some type of derogative thing to bring our reputation down. But just in the past tense, you had people hanging themselves, you had people, you know, whips all across their back because they dropped the egg. Oh, I dropped the egg, I got whips. That's 5 licks I gotta take. But you get mad and calling people monkeys and animals because they looting a target of products. Yeah, so that's the country we live in.
And another thing, I just remembered, a lot of times when it's like black people doing this stuff, that's when it's an issue. Like, white people do all that other stuff, or, you know, Hispanic people do that, Asian, everybody does it. But I feel like there's always like an extra emphasis when a black person does it, because, you know, especially like a black male already has 2 strikes against him, so it's like, oh, you doing this and you look like this. Like, I feel like it's just, and it's always about like the media too. They always push like the narrative, and all the stations, you know, they have their own personal bias. So I feel like that doubled down with the fact that police already think that about us. It's like, there's really no escape to just the narrative.
There's really no other option. Like, you know, people didn't even want to acknowledge the issue, and police brutality has been going on since, I can't even tell you how long. But I bet you when people started looting and started burning buildings down, I bet you people started paying attention. Now they want to look into the issue. Now they want to call for people to go to court and stuff like that. So I in my opinion, the looting and stuff got the job done. Thank you for tuning in to our Progressive Table Talk. Come out to the meeting next Thursday, and don't let the conversation stop here. Talk with your friends, family, and everybody.